So here we are, and let's learn a little bit from Wikipedia, but here's some images of the real aircraft carrier. You can see it's totally loaded up with airplanes here. And then you can see it's obviously longer, and it actually does seem to have a tilted deck. Okay, well, let's read some Wikipedia. So this thing was built between 1920 and 1927, and was in service between 1927 and 1942. And it was eventually scuttled. It did take part in the attack on Pearl Harbor as well as many other battles, but eventually in the Battle of Midway, it was damaged by an airplane from the Enterprise, and they had to scuttle it, so it wouldn't fall into enemy hands. I believe it was the second aircraft carrier ever by the Japanese. It was named after a mountain, Mount Akagi, of course. It weighed around 40,000 long tons with a deep load, whatever that means. The length was 260 meters. The beam was 31 meters. It had 4 steam turbines, and it could go 31.5 knots, or around 58 kilometers per hour, or 36 miles per hour. Okay, so let's look into the kit now. I don't have the planes on it, because frankly, I kind of think they're kind of lame looking. But I'll still put like 3 of them on later. Alright, so you can see it's quite weathered. I don't use the stickers. The only stickers I use are the flags. And this one had 3 different kinds. So I have all 3 of them on there. I think this was considered the flagship of the one of the aircraft carrier fleets. Maybe that's what that flag means, but leave a comment if you know. I don't really research this stuff too much. I have too many things to build. Okay, well, it was quite a challenge, putting the decals on as usual, and miraculously, the 3rd time in a row now, I've managed to actually make it look like the way the sticker did. The paper sticker, that is. But these are really long decals. This arrowhead and white line are 1 decal. This dotted line is 1 decal. So it might make sense, actually. When I was making these dotted ones, they actually tore. It might be easier if you just cut these decals and then put them on segments. You can see it's a little bit bowed out, it looks like, because it was so long. And then for some reason I couldn't get this letter all the way in. I think this white line is supposed to be further up. Oh well. A bunch of paint washes and stuff like that. I painted the windows blue, and then I used one of those nib things to put a panel liner in here. So the black for the windows and the vents and exhaust and all that, and then some brown just to make it look a little older. This thing is, I believe, probably built on a battleship hull because it has these main cannons down here, and essentially, unfortunately, some extra paint I didn't catch. But you can see the deck here. Maybe from this side it'll be easier with the exhaust side. You see, it's actually like bowing down in the front and it's bowing in the rear. But looking at some images of renderings, it does seem like it's bowed at least in the rear. So that's quite interesting. I guess it makes sense. If a plane were to land here, then it has to go uphill a little bit, so it should slow down. And maybe it bows off here because it'll actually gain a little speed as it's running off the front end. Well, again, I'm not an expert on these things, not even close. So yeah, you have the exhaust here, more of those main guns. And so it looks like, yeah, they built basically an aircraft carrier on top of a battleship. So you have all these pylons for the extra overhangs of the decks. There's some lifeboats back there, big hangar it looks like. So you got the 3 elevators, of course, a bunch of anti-aircraft guns, but also some cannons, looks like there. Maybe these are anti-aircraft cannons. Alright, the tower is pretty nice. You got these front steps and a platform, a rear platform, maybe 5 parts to make this thing. I guess as far as making this, some tips is don't trim off all these pieces off the sprues because everyone is a little bit different. So I left them on the runners so I could know which one went exactly where. I think if you would have a really hard time wasting time figuring out which ones went where if you didn't pay attention to the instructions. Even these two I put in backwards. So, all right. I always make an English label, and then this is the original label. I believe that must say Akagi. I also glue the propellers on because I've had some fall off when I didn't glue them. I couldn't really get the deck to fit fully flush, it seems, or like it didn't really engage these pillars front and rear fully. See, there's a little bit of a gap. So I didn't see any extra molding flash in the holes, but maybe you want to drill those holes out a little bit more if you want to avoid that. You see this one actually isn't pushed in all the way. So yeah, a lot of the holes are really tight. You might want to take a needle file and run them out, but then you'll have to use glue because they'll be awfully loose. So keep that in mind. Alright, so I guess that's it. For the airplanes of the standard 3 aircraft that I've come across on all these carriers I've built so far, this is my third carrier. So you have a 0. This larger white plane is an Aichi D3A, so that's a dive bomber. As you can see, the bomb itself looks like a dive bomb. And then the green ones, which I've horribly painted white on the bottom, but you don't even see them when they're on the aircraft carrier, so you don't really care so much. So this last one is a Nakajima B5N, and this is a torpedo bomber. As you can see, it's a much longer bomb there. So I'm not even sure why I painted the bottoms of these white, because you're not going to see it. And then putting on these little striped decals was quite difficult because you're trying to put it on around a conical surface. So some Mr. Mark's Softer helps it kind of go around, and you definitely want to clear coat these because the decals will fall off. So you can slow down my build if you really want to see. Let me come back with some planes on this thing. So the other ones, this is a Kaga, the Kaga aircraft carrier. It's the largest of the 3. And this one is the Soryu, which seems to be the smallest of the 3. This is a dedicated aircraft carrier, if I recall from the Wikipedia. But this one clearly looks like, again, it was built on a battleship hull. So, and this one I have it maxed out with all 9 planes, but it's just a pain. So, and actually I kind of like seeing the deck, so I'm probably going to just leave these 3 on there. Alright, let's get these out of here. Well, another cool little build, so yeah, big fan of these things. On this one I failed to mention, these little, and I don't know what they are. They look like antennae, but they're sticking out horizontally. They don't move. They just slot into grooves. Whereas on the Soryu, they actually will pivot. Granted, they're so flimsy, I wouldn't suggest moving them. Alright, well anyways, I'll see you in the next Fujimi build. Thanks for tuning in, and bye.